I'm Tess from Ruby Tuesday Art, and today I'm going to be going through an activity that I love to teach at my watercolour workshops, which is as much about showing you the amount of, variety in tone and colour that you can achieve with watercolour just by adding more water, as much as it's also about getting used to using the paintbrush and the paper and all of that, getting comfortable using watercolour. Okay, colour control. Way more fun than it sounds, I promise. And I've got a whole other video about watercolour materials if you're wondering what I'm using, and also a really comprehensive PDF guide all about materials, so you can find those both linked in the description. To start off with, I'm using my cool water jar to activate some green paint. So all I'm doing is, I'll just tilt that so you can see a bit better, adding some water to my paint tray and giving it a good wiggle to activate the paint. And I haven't put heaps of water in. Let's see if I can get up close. I haven't put heaps of water in, just enough to wet it a little bit, but it'll be quite concentrated. So I've actually already done my first line, but I had to stop filming. So we're gonna start down here, okay? So what you want to do is get a really concentrated bit of paint on your brush and just do a stroke across the page. In fact, that's more concentrated than my one earlier, which is pretty good, because you want to create a gradient from really dark through to light just by adding more water to your brush. So I've done my first really concentrated line, and all I'm going to do now is pick up a little bit of water, dab my brush on the edge of the jar to dilute it, and I'm not going back into the paint. And then I just do another line underneath there. And then I'm repeating it. I go again. And if you can hear rustling, that's Will in the office study nook. So I just keep adding more water to the brush, making sure that I sort of get the excess water off on the side of the jar. And I do another line, working my way down. And this is a really good example of the fact that when you're painting with watercolor, you do not need to add white to your paint to lighten it. You just need to add more water and dilute the paint. And this is a great activity to get used to the whole watercolor painting process. Using two jars, so you can either use a cool jar and a warm jar for your painting. So for example, if I wanted to do another one here but in red, which is a warm color, I would use my warm jar. I'm doing the same thing again, activating my paint but making sure it's still really concentrated. And then I paint a line on the page and it's really, really bright. Then I go into my warm jar, give it a swirl, dilute it, but also make sure that I get rid of the excess on the jar rim, I guess, and then I do my next line. And you'll actually see that's a pretty big contrast, so I must have added a fair bit of water. And then you just keep repeating this down the page. So you'll notice that some colors, you notice like a pretty striking difference between the first line and the second, whereas others, it takes a bit longer to notice that gradient. But pretty much it's just a matter of practicing, and it would be a great idea if you have, for example, a tray of paints like this, to perhaps practice with each one on your page, just so that you can get used to the different levels of brightness and vibrancy, and seeing how much water needs to be added to each color to create this gradient effect. Because there will be variation between colors. So I think this is a great activity for beginners to learn about that whole process of lightening watercolor paints, as well as getting used to using the brush, the jars, and all of that. It's also a great activity that even I enjoy doing, and I've been painting for nearly 10 years, just to get used to using paint again. If I haven't painted for a little while and I'm kind of feeling like I'm in a bit of a creative rut, so to speak, I like to actually have a go at doing just really basic activities like this to get in the groove of painting and just remember how to do it. So yeah, have a go and let me know how you find it. And don't forget that I have got my free PDF guide all about materials linked in the description. And I also have kits for sale on my website that include paints, brushes, paper, everything you need to get started with watercolor painting, as well as a really comprehensive watercolor booklet that takes you through this activity and heaps more. So thanks.